DCFM 88.9, CC Peniston, finally 17 past 9 with Ken. And joining me, good morning, Mayor Matthew Dickerson.
Good morning, Ken. Good to be chatting to you again. Nicer weather than last time I was in. It was a bit cold last time I was in.
Absolute little rain on the roof last night. So let's get into it. And the hot potato, Australia Day.
It was a big topic of discussion at the council meeting last night. A lot of different views, a lot of different opinions. Last time we spoke, we had the recommendation from the committee meetings that said have the Wellington event on the Friday night, the 24th of January, have the Dubbo event on the Saturday night, the 25th, and then obviously the Australia Day itself, the Sunday, would be free for people to do whatever they like. There was a fair bit of feedback we got from the community, and I did ask the community to give us all feedback, all councillors' feedback. We got phone calls, emails, etc. So last night we debated the two different ceremonies, and in the end the decision of council was to have the Wellington event, the same as we've had the last 2 years, as a twilight event, 25th of January, 6:30 p.m. That'll be on the Saturday night in 2025. And for the Dubbo event, have that on the Australia Day itself, on the Sunday, the 26th of January. So essentially the same as we've done the last 2 years. There was a bit of discussion, Ken, about the idea of going to both events on the 26th. But the general discussion around councillors was that we made a move 2 years ago to be a bit bold, a bit progressive. It felt like a backwards move to go back to both events on the 26th. So councillors were quite happy with keeping the way that we changed it to 2 years ago and continue on that path for next year.
And there seemed to be a good support for the Wellington event being in the afternoon, simply due to the fact that it might be a hot day.
The weather certainly is one factor there, having it in the afternoon, certainly the day's starting to cool down. And it can be a different style of event. In the past we've had it as a twilight event. It's at the end of a working day, so you finish your working day, then you can go to the event. This will be on a Saturday, so fewer people will be working, but still it seems like something a bit different. But it's still the idea of having a twilight event is taking away some of the pain from the Aboriginal community having the event on the 26th. So there's still a logic and an argument to that. And one of the arguments put forward last night during the debate was the fact that the Australian of the Year is announced as a twilight event. If it's good enough for the Prime Minister, surely it's good enough for here in Dubbo Regional Council.
Okay, Maryvale Solar, another hot potato.
It was a hot potato. And this one, I'm not sure how we'll go with this one, Ken. This is a really interesting one. We've talked before about the problem with voluntary planning agreements. We've got lots of these renewable projects happening around the region. 37 projects should happen over the next 7 years in this renewable energy zone. Fantastic. That means council should have more money to be able to spend in the community. The problem is each agreement is voluntary. They're called voluntary planning agreements. Now, if I say to you, Ken, would you like to volunteer to give some money away? You're probably going to say, no, you've got to have a good reason to volunteer to give it away. These are businesses that have got shareholders. They're not going to volunteer to give money away unless there's a good reason. We've got a framework that says we'd like 1.5% of each project, but they don't have to give it. We're really just saying for social licence, for doing the right thing in the community, 1.5%. Some say yes, some have been really good and they've said yes. Some have said no, you're going to get zero, and they're allowed to do that. In this particular one with Maryvale, we negotiated with them. We got to 0.73%. So we'd made some progress, and that was about as far as we thought we'd get. So at some stage, we've got to bring that back to council to be resolved. So it went to council last night. We've negotiated with Maryvale. We've got to 0.73%. We think that's as good as we're going to get.
At the moment.
But councillors said, no, we don't accept 0.73%. So they resolved not to accept the 0.73%, to go back and say, we want the 1.5%. So now, back to the negotiating table to see if we can get 1.5% from the Maryvale Solar Farm project based on that council resolution.
And finally, let's talk about one of our neighbours, actually Macquarie Homestay, something good coming their way.
We've had a history in Dubbo of helping community groups with an interest-free loan. We've done it before for a number of different organisations where we've said to help you out for some project that you need, if you make an application, we might consider giving you $100,000 on an interest-free process, typically over a 5-year repayment schedule. And so Macquarie Homestay did send us a letter and requested exactly that, $100,000 to help the wonderful work they do there at Macquarie Homestay, interest-free over 5 years. The cost to council, because we'll take that money out of one of our investments, is about $11,000. So the total cost to the community over that 5-year time frame was $11,000. There was a bit of discussion about cost shifting. This is a facility that the community has mainly provided for. There's been some government grants for that, but really wouldn't it be better if the state government, for example, provided this accommodation. So some people had that thought, but in general, the final resolution from council was to give Macquarie Homestay $100,000. They'll repay that over 5 years with no interest payable on that to help out what is, again, a wonderful asset that we have in our community.
And so many good stories coming out of what they do, basically across the road from us.
Yeah, exactly right. Out of terrible situations, great stories. So I think you're spot on, Ken. There's a lot of heartbreaking stories that are coming out of there with some wonderful works being done.
And of course the work continues for Dubbo Regional Council, the councillors and the staff. Mayor Matthew Dickerson, thank you for your time this morning.
Well, not much more. We've only got one meeting left, Ken, before this term of council.